I think networks are afraid of backlash. So if somebody says something, let's say that's true, but also like goes against the grain, they might see a response from the audience. They'll be like, oh, I mean, we don't want any advertisers to flee. Let's cut this controversy off. And honestly, that is the worst thing you could possibly do. The best way to handle it is, and I do this too, if I'm going to say something where I feel like my own audience isn't even going to agree with me on this, you got to say it if you're telling the truth, and then just let the chips fall where they may. And one of the things I learned from you is just don't engage, with Twitter and the mentions and YouTube comments, because if you're getting good criticism, that's one thing, and you can tell when a criticism is fair. But if you're getting criticism that you're like, this isn't even close to true, and now it's making me feel like shit,
and then you're angry, and then you respond
what's the
to
point?
that. Yeah.
I'm going to waste 3 hours feeling negative emotions because some douchebag is attacking me when they don't even know what I really think on the issue.
Yeah.
Then that's a totally different thing, you know?
Or they've just seen a clip where you might have looked at both sides of it, but they're only seeing this one side that you're looking at, and they're like, oh, Kyle is turning his back on this and that, and like, and then you're like, no, I'm not. And then you're like, and then you get into
just
it.
Don't engage.
Don't engage.
Don't engage.
Yeah, don't engage.
It keeps your mind pure too. If you're like, for what I do, I got to read a lot of articles and watch a lot of videos and then react to it. And I have more of an untainted perspective if I go right to the source, read it, and then I react. Whereas if I see what other people are saying first, I don't want it to like sort of taint my own process going through the original material. You know what I mean?
Right. Yeah, yeah. It's a complex little dance we're doing. It's interesting. But the beautiful thing is that for now, you're getting these people that aren't influenced by a group of people that have a vested interest on gaining some financial benefits from this show being successful. So they're trying to like navigate it, move it in a way that they think is going to be the most commercially successful. But they're not the people with the opinions. They're not the people that are funny. They're not the people that are putting out the entertainment value of it. They're just the people that are profiting off of it. And those are generally the people that fund it, the executives, the network, the people. But that's why CNN sucks. It's because like they're trying to do that, but you can't do that. And so you have these people that are willing to do that. You have the Brian Stelters and the Don Lemons that are willing to like play ball and stay narrow. And they're in these narrow pathways, and people just don't like it.
Yeah,
they just don't resonate with it because that's not a real person. That's not who you are.
Yeah, Krystal and I have honestly tried to go above and beyond on that front because we don't want any money from certain sources tainting us, because this is what happens with traditional medias. If you're taking a lot of money from Raytheon and Boeing and Pfizer, and then if you really buck the narrative and you say, hey, you know what, I think we should maybe nationalize Big Pharma, then you're going to be kicked out right away.
Exactly.
So the way we do it is we have the default ads on YouTube, which is thankfully there's a buffer there. So like, AdSense deals with that, and I've never had a conversation with an advertiser over a decade of doing this. So that's one way we make money. The other way is Patreon, which is just people tipping because they like what I say and like what I do. $5 a month, $8 a month, whatever it may be. And then the other way Krystal and I have done it is with Krystal Kyle and Friends in particular. We have a Substack, and people pay $5 a month. They get the video of the interviews, and they get it a day early. And that makes it, again, so I've never had a conversation with any advertiser in over 10 years of doing it. I've gone above and beyond on purpose so that people know, look, even if you disagree with me, this is 100% coming from a genuine place.
Yeah, that's awesome. That's the future, I think. And I think that's a commercially viable way to do it, too. You can do it and make a living, especially when you realize that, if you're working at CNN, you got to realize there's probably like hundreds of people that are working there that aren't the entertainment.
Right. Yeah.
So, like, there's so many different pieces of the pie that get sliced up and chopped up, whereas you don't need as much money to be financially successful with your show, as successful as you would be if you were on a network.
Right. Here's the issue, though, is that YouTube, unfortunately, has set up a tiered system. So they have authoritative news, and then they have what's called borderline content. And so shows like mine are put into the borderline content category. Yeah, and I'll tell you why. They're afraid of, because back in 2017, there was some like big company ad, like a Nestle ad or something, that ran on a white nationalist video. And so a bunch of media outlets wrote these articles that were like, oh my God, look at what YouTube's doing. They're radicalizing people. This is terrible. And so YouTube reacted to that by, they just wanted to to cut their losses, and they said, just defund news and politics right now. That was what was called adpocalypse. So they cut off all the funding overnight for
what was that?
independent news.
What was the catalyst for that? What was the video that did that?
I don't know what the actual video was. I know it was like a white nationalist video that ran like an official ad.
We should find out what that was.
Yeah, you'd have to go back to 2017 articles to find it.
Because I remember adpocalypse, but I remember just going, what is going on, and not paying attention.
Yeah. Well, I covered it at the time. It was huge for us because we were one of the ones affected. We went from we literally all the money wiped out overnight, and we didn't know when it was going to come back. Now, thankfully, it did come back about a week or two later, but it was never really the same since then. And it was in 2018, I believe, the YouTube CEO said, "Look, we're addressing the misinformation and disinformation problem, and so now we have authoritative content and borderline content, and so the YouTube algorithm pumps the authoritative content and like suppresses the borderline content."
Is it Pewdiepie?
Pewdiepie.
But Pewdiepie was not a white nationalist.
And which year?
He's just a shit poster. You know, he's like a
no,
funny
yeah, that's
guy.
true. If this is true, then it's even worse than I remember it being.
Pewdiepie in 2017, the most subscribed YouTuber of all time, at the time rather, came under fire for posting videos that YouTube deemed anti-Semitic and hate speech. These videos included references and jokes about Adolf Hitler, as well as 2 Indian men holding a sign stating "Death to all Jews." At the same time, videos including Chief Keef dancing to Alabama N-word and other extremist content were surfacing, leading to the UK government, Coca-Cola, Dr. Pepper, Johnson & Johnson, and many other major brands pulling or pausing their advertisements on YouTube. Oh, I see. Okay.
Yeah, so they rolled out this whole system to deal with this, and they end up suppressing us, you know, and basically putting us in league with stuff like that.
Yeah.
So, you know,
is weird.
it's a struggle. It is a struggle because we were growing at a tremendous clip.
Yeah.
And then basically overnight, it's like they flipped a switch in the algorithm and boom. Now, the issue is with recommendations. So now, if you're already subscribed to me, you're going to see a bunch of my stuff pop up. If you're not subscribed to me, it is very unlikely you're going to get one of my videos pop up in the recommended algorithm. So you can't really grow when that's the case. You're just basically keeping your fan base.
So the way you grow is doing other people's podcasts and getting people from their fan base to come to you, like Patrick Bet David.
Well, not even that. It used to be if you typed in whatever news thing you were interested in, one of the top videos could be a secular talk video. But now, if you type it in, it is never that. There was a time when we used to run circles around CNN. They'd get like 2,000 views a video back in like 2015, and we were getting way more than that, 30,000 or whatever it was. And then now you go look at any CNN video, even though the thumbnails are shit, the titles are shit, the content is shit, they'll get 300,000, 400,000 views. Because that's what YouTube can decide to make somebody or break somebody like that.